So,
Oh,
it has real world practical applications. It's not just about, am I going to win the lottery? When's the love of my life? And I understand that these are really important questions for people. I'm not belittling that, but I'm talking about real healing aspects, real benefits. Um, and I can kind of
well,
hear some
actually,
people
that's a good
going,
point. Let's
yeah,
bring up the love of the life. So, why is it that that's a question so often, where we have people that are like, can you please, tell me when am I going to find my soulmate? And it's because deep down, this is like the crux of their pain. It's like
no,
they
you're
don't
right. No, no, no,
understand,
you're right. You're right. I got to honor Sarah's perspective. You're so right because it does matter. It's really, really important to them. Yes, you're right. Go ahead. Yeah.
right? And so I think in that situation, we find it tedious because it's like, we become broken records sometimes when we are regurgitating the spiritual information that is self-help, right? Because self-help is a lot of the information that we get, or at least for me,
Absolutely.
I will speak for myself,
Yeah. No, 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 no. You're right.
um,
That's what it's about. Right. Yeah.
yeah. And so it's like when we're trying to attract that person, you have to have your own cup of love filled up first. And so I think that's why people, they don't have that yet. And so instead of looking to themselves and looking within for the answers as to maybe why they're still finding or needing to find their soulmate, they're looking for it in an outside source. So I just need someone to be here to fill up my cup because I'm sad and I'm lonely and I just want someone there. Well, that's great. And you could find that person, but how long is it going to last if you're still deep down miserable and you haven't really addressed the situation as to why you are lonely to begin with,
No,
or
you're so
or
right
whatever
on. Yeah, yeah,
problems it
yeah.
is.
I concur. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't even remember how that started.
Well, no, I mean, you're bringing up a good point, and we've talked about this before, and I'm sure it's going to come up again. And I don't want to get too far off of fears and looking at the positivities because you're right. It is really important. Like having love is a huge human thing. We want abundance, we want love, we want health, we want
Yeah.
success. We all want those things. You're very right. And so I'm not. So thanks for bringing me back. That's why we called this Project Perspectives because it is important. It is important, and I guess I shouldn't undermine it so much. But I do have caution with it, and we've discussed this as well, where if you're being the psychic, right, and you're reading that sitter, you're connecting with that sitter, it's really important to make sure that we're not reading their desires and then reflecting them back to them. So, for example, I remember this gal, she was just so desperate to have someone in her life. She'd been lonely for a really long time. She was a very successful woman. And I think that was difficult for a lot of men because she was well off. And so she invited me to her home. And anyway, I connected and I told her all this information. It was, oh, that's exactly the man I'm looking for. And I realized I was getting all of this information from her. This wasn't coming from her future, right? This was coming from her desire, her intention. And I think, and
Right.
this is kind of something we'll probably talk about in another show, but where's that information coming from? If I tell you the perfect man for you, and then all of a sudden you think that that person is coming because I'm telling that to you psychically, where's the information coming from? That's really important. Sadly, this woman passed several years later and she had never met anyone. And so, it was, there's an ethical issue when we're telling somebody about their future, about this or that. Where's the information coming from, and what can I best do for you to serve you to have that in your life? And I think that's what you were pointing out, though. I would more be inclined to, if someone wants that information, and I know we're tangenting, so sorry to the listeners, but it's kind of relevant, but we'll get back to the positives and the negatives. It comes up for a reason, right?
Right.
Is what is it that I can share with you that will help you find the love of your life, right? What is it that's holding you back? And that's why I always, in my sessions, I try to kind of tailor it, not to tell you what your future is, but Here's what's holding you back from having that. Here's what I see that's preventing you from that. Because then it's more of like,
Right. And
yeah,
because then they can take that information and then they can apply it, and then that is the benefit of the psychic information, because
yes,
it's like,
yes, yes, yes. And so it,
you
it
know,
does, it kind of puts the responsibility back on the person. And some people go, "Oh, well, that's kind of lame." And I'm like, well, no, it really isn't. Because if I told you the love of your life was going to be there a year from now and you sat in your house for the rest of your life waiting for that 1 year to come and it didn't happen, you didn't participate in making it happen. Or I could tell you, oh, there's a divorce that's going to come in 6 months. I would never say that. This is like a really extreme hypothetical situation, right? It's like, here's a negative event
right, right,
that happen 6 months in the future. And then all of a sudden it happens because you believed it was going to happen. That's why that's not ethical. So anyway, we're kind of getting off, but you're right in the sense that I don't want to belittle the fact that it's important that the love is important. And that's why I love that you bring me back to
right.
reality too. Yeah.
And just so that by doing that, so like when I say to someone, whatever the advice that was, that is, as long as they're taking that into consideration, and usually, or like you said, don't sit, in your house for the next year and do nothing. Actually take that advice and apply it into your life,
Mm-hmm.
and see if you don't have some kind of change. If and that is the benefit. There's been, I mean, I don't like future stuff as much either. You and I, we know we don't like future stuff. But what if, somebody asks the question, what's going to happen in my future? Am I going to get this job? Just for an example.
Right.
And I say, I kind of don't. I don't think you're going to get it. That's it. And then they're like, well, I don't like what she said. I'm going to go out and get that job anyways.
Or they buy
Was it
into it,
me?
which is even worse.
Right?
Yes.
Which is true. But then it's like, well, that's true. That's well, I was gonna say, like, what if they, uh, just made it more of a determination because I told them, and this is why free will is that
Right.
deciding factor. So I can tell you, what the energies say are the upcoming probabilities or possibilities. But in the end, the free will is really what matters, and that's it. Because you know it is. You have to make a choice. Everybody has a choice. You can take the information that we give you and you can apply that into your life, or you can take that information and you can discard it also. you know
But sometimes
I
people
don't
don't
know.
do that, especially if they have a misunderstanding of what psychic abilities are, because there's a lot of, and that's, I think part of what we're passionate about is the education and the awareness is that it's, people think that it's just about future telling. So that's why I was like, okay, there's a lot more benefits to that.